United States is going to run out of money in less than 1 month and default on their debts, which will be absolutely catastrophic if it happens, and I'm going to teach you how to make money off this idea. But first, what's actually going on? Well, the US government spends more money than it gets back in taxes, so it creates treasury bonds out of thin air and sells them to the market to bring in cash, which is basically just going into debt. If the government can't pay off that debt, which is what's going to happen if the debt ceiling isn't raised, the US government will literally run out of money. So all you have to do to make money off this idea is to pick whichever side you think is going to be right. Will the US default or will they be fine? If you think the US will default, then you can buy up an ETF called TBT, which seeks to track the inverse of prices of US bonds. So if they do default, this ETF will skyrocket, and if you think all will be well, then you can buy an ETF called TLT, which tracks the value of US Treasuries itself, which will rise if all ends up being okay.
Normal in America is broke. 78% of Americans have too much month left at the end of the money. They spend everything they make and then some every month. That's 8 out of 10 houses on your street are broke. You ever drive down a middle-class street and they got upper-class cars in the driveway? Tells you there's a problem. You can just count the payments is what you're doing.
Show inflation is rippling into every corner of American life, with some people skipping meals because they simply can't afford it. Prices may be down at the gas pump, but prices overall, especially for food, have increased by 8% more than they were last year.
Over 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck today. Millions are spending money they don't have. Credit cards, cash advances. Hell, they're even skipping electric bills just to pay the fucking rent. If you're looking around wondering what's going on because the market's up, just remember, the stock market is not the economy. Credit card debt just hit $1.3 trillion. Delinquency, the highest since the end of the Great Recession. And everyone's emergency fund, well, those have been empty for a long fucking time. First comes the debt saturation. That's where most people are right now. Then comes the trigger, a layoff, a medical bill, a rent hike. Something that forces someone to stop making payments. When enough people have hit that wall, the cascade begins. Layoffs accelerate, bankruptcies rise, and cars get repoed. That's when the cycle kicks in and doesn't stop. Less spending leads to more pain, which leads to less spending, which leads to even more pain. So if you're wondering how's the market booming while working families are drowning, the system is designed to float on struggling backs until they finally break them.
Why are most Americans still broke, even in the richest country on earth? You were told to go to school, get a degree, and you'd be set for life. But how's that working out? Jake went to college, got a decent job, pays his bills on time, but he's drowning in student loans, credit card debt, and rent that eats half his paycheck. The truth? They taught him to trade time for money, not how to build wealth. To obey, not to question. You're not broke because you're lazy. You're broke because you were programmed to be. Follow for more truths they don't teach in school.
America, we got 158 million people. They wake up the same time every day. They drive to get coffee from the same place every day and stand in a long line because they're rushing to get there. They go to work at the same time. They go to lunch at the same time. They get off at the same time. They get back on the highways. They do this 5 days a week for 40 years and they're still broke. How do you trick that many people into doing that? School. I had a parent-teacher conference today. My daughter, she was doing horrible. I asked the English teacher, what am I supposed to tell my daughter? I said, my daughter speaks very well. She really does. She does. She came to me and she asked me, why do I need to know what a noun is? That's a good question. And I said, because the school says you need to do it. She said, well, don't you think they could be teaching us like what a balance sheet is or what tax bracket we're going to be in? I'm not saying it's not relevant, but couldn't they be doing something better with our time? No, because they need you on a highway grinding 5 days a week for 40 years and staying broke. In America, we got 158 million people. They wake up the same time every day. They drive to get coffee from the same place every day and stand in a long line because they're rushing to get there. They go to work at the same time. They go to lunch at the same time. They get off at the same time. They get back on the highways. They do this 5 days a week for 40 years and they're still broke. How do you trick that many people into doing that? School. I had a parent-teacher conference today. My daughter, she was doing horrible. I asked the English teacher, what am I supposed to tell my daughter? I said, my daughter speaks very well. She really does. She does. She came to me and she asked me, why do I need to know what a noun is? That's a good question. And I said, because the school says you need to do it. She said, well, don't you think they could be teaching us like what a balance sheet is or what tax bracket we're going to be in? I'm not saying it's not relevant, but couldn't they be doing something better with our time? No, because they need you on a highway grinding 5 days a week for 40 years and staying broke.
55%. That's the rate that American farmers have been declaring bankruptcy over and above last year. 55% more bankruptcies of American farmers. And it's the conditions, the economic conditions that are contributing to it. A lack of a workforce, a lack of labor, tariffs, I mean, the whole 9 yards. You know, everything this administration has done is contributing to these people losing everything. They're losing the farm, right? So why is this important? Why should you care? Well, what happens when a family declares bankruptcy is that their property is sold in a sheriff's auction to satisfy creditors. So they lose their property. It's fire sailed. And, you know, if they've got a $1 million loan on the 1,000 acres they got, and they get $500,000 for the property, well, they're on the hook for another $500,000. We're talking about generations that have farmed land, that have been farmers their entire lives, losing everything because they can't sell a product overseas. I mean, most of our corn and grain is sold to other countries, and the tariffs are making it more expensive than other options. So they can't sell what they've farmed for decades or centuries. So what's the end run here? Why is this happening? Well, my speculation is that there's large, massive farming operations out there, very large corporations that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres. For example, the King Ranch. And 25 years ago, they had 1 million acres and several 100,000 head of cattle. And they're looking to expand. So how do you expand cheaply? Well, what you do is you get somebody to pass legislation that's going to make family farms, file bankruptcy. And then instead of giving them fair market value for it, you can just buy the land in foreclosure. So, well, out of bankruptcy. So that's the end run here. That's what all these policies are doing, is simply gutting family farmers to allow corporations to get farmland cheaply. It's a shame. It's sad. It's shameful. But that's what this administration is going for, you know. Line the pockets of the big corporations, the big farmers, and shaft us.
Paying you the money. We almost have to replace the word taxpayers to the American people.
Yeah.
We got to stop saying the government's paying you. The government's paying you. No. The American people are paying you. So American people, you got kids. If a kid after 18 years old lives in your house and does nothing for you in return, rent-free, no chores, doesn't clean the bed, you're either a terrible parent or your kid's a freeloader. No parent's going to sit there and be okay with that. If you are, you're raising somebody that's going to have those habits grow into wanting the government to take care of them and American people to take care of them. I am very comfortable with the 20 hours per week. I am very comfortable with any of that stuff. I would even add drug tests and all the other things to it. If you're not taking care of yourself and your life and your health, why should American people pay you anything? Nothing. You make better decisions in your life. You make better decisions in your life. You know, you have a
TikTok, what up? We are now at about 51,000 followers, men and women. I thank you and I salute you. Seems that you people have a lot to say about my rent and mortgage video. I should say this. It's not about equity. My vision on true wealth is not about seeming rich. It's about having financial freedom. It's about options, not obligations. Therefore, with that being said, I don't want the debt. I want options, right? If I put myself into a mortgage, it will literally put me into obligation. It's one of the main causes of debt that the country has, added into car notes and school loans. With that being said, it's not my prerogative in being in debt. You do your research. There are things online that literally have people in debt. So, with that being said, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. Have a good one.
Groceries are so expensive now that about 70% of the country cannot afford to buy a buggy of groceries. Can't do it. Can't afford it. Most people have $40 or $50 and they'll take that and they'll go buy what they can get, and it better last. Some people worse than that. Some people might have $100. And wages are stagnant. Nobody's making any more money. People are struggling. And our leaders are not doing anything at all to help it. They are more concerned about foreign wars and foreign policy and what's going on with everywhere else in the world than they are about the people that they are specifically here to serve. They aren't in Washington to become rich and famous and go to balls and have nice dinners. They are in Washington, D.C. because they work for us. They're specifically there to do things for us, to make sure our lives run smooth and safe. That is their sole purpose to be at their job, to protect this nation and to serve its people. They are not doing that anymore, and they have not done that for a very long time. The American people have been left behind by its politicians and its leaders. It is no longer a free country. It is no longer affordable, and the American dream is dead. And no matter what president they put in office, it's not going to change. Because even though now that Trump's here, and grocery prices are still going up, things are not getting better. And I don't think they're going to get better. I think they're going to get significantly worse because nobody's doing anything. The only thing on TV or on any news channel is everything about Gaza or Israel or anything else but food costs and wages. It's never about the small people. It's never about the biggest group. It's always about the world and everything in it and everyone in it except for the American people. I'm not doing that anymore. Without our tax money, they're done. And I don't know about you, but I have paid my last bit of taxes. The federal government takes every dime we make, up to 60% of what we make. Some people pay 50, some people pay 40, but all of us pay at least 40% of what we make in a year to the federal government so they can piss it away on foreign wars and lobster and steak, things that we can't have. We work 40% of the year to give to the government so they can have the things that we can only dream of. So our politicians that we pay to ignore us and not do anything for us so they can have nice meals and nice houses and nice cars, and all the while we can't even keep ours running or keep them from being repoed. America has become a scam, but only a scam for the poor. Because once you're locked into being poor, that's where you're at. Unless by some miracle you become TikTok famous and make money, or you hit the lottery, or you really do land a job at a company that people actually care about you. And that's probably not going to happen anymore. We're cooked. I don't like being a defeatist or say things can't get better. But the world is so cold and evil, it's so backwards, it's not going to get better. And the only thing we could do now is pray. Because only God can help us. because our government and our country sure ain't. They're going to keep spending all of our money that they steal from us every year on foreign wars and foreign countries and steak and lobster and all that yada yada we just talked about. So I'm not going to give them any more money, and you shouldn't either. We should concentrate our time and effort on things above. That's Jesus. We should all repent of our sins and prepare for our Lord and Savior. Because if it's this bad now, and it's not getting any better, where on the calendar do you think we're at? And how much time do you think we have left?
So today, as an early 30th birthday gift, my mom and my stepdad got me a lawnmower. Couldn't be more grateful. Not just because it is very thoughtful, but because stuff like this gets pushed back. Like a lot of other things, it's just not in the budget. Like, do you know how wild it is that at 30 years old, this is the kind of gift that means the world now? Because most of us just can't afford basic shit anymore. I mean, there was a recent study that showed millennials are financially worse off than their parents were at the same age. And it shows. We're not buying houses. We're not starting families. We're not even participating in the economy they promised us would reward hard work. It's not about effort. We've been grinding for years with nothing to show for it. Capitalism in America has completely cannibalized itself. Major cities falling apart. Roads are garbage. Infrastructure's crumbling. But there's a homeless person at every gas station just trying to survive. This is a collapse in real time, but we've been trained to smile through it. Just wait for payday, scroll it away, numb it out. But I think something's changing. I think 2025 to 2027 is our awakening. Most of us are starting to feel it. Like our souls are syncing up online, and we've realized we're not alone in this anymore. And if we get the numbers right, we stay loud, we stay united, we can really shift what the future looks like. Not just for us, but for our kids. But here's the thing. I mean, we can't wait for another tragedy to wake us up. Because if we don't choose non-compliance on our terms, something else is going to force us into it. So what's it going to be? Do we keep brushing it off every Friday when the paycheck hits? Or do we finally admit that this isn't life? This is survival on repeat, and we deserve something better.
The US government has gone broke, and a lot of people skip over this video because you don't think it really affects you, but I'm going to tell you how this could honestly ruin your life. Today, the government has decided that the US can borrow more money to pay off its debt, aka it raised the debt ceiling. To keep people calm, the media acts like this solves all of our problems, but at the end of the day, this is like putting a band-aid on a bullet hole. So, now that we've dug ourselves into this hole, what could happen if the US defaults on its debt? Well, if you work for the government, you're not going to be getting paid. Military, federal employees, veterans, contractors, you get the picture. Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare would all stop. Unfortunately, you wouldn't see your tax refunds. Student loan benefits won't get paid out. Credit card rates, mortgage rates, and car loans would all go up. Inflation would skyrocket because nobody would trust the US dollar anymore. So your hard-earned money would be worth much less than it's worth now. If you think you're in the clear because you don't live in the US, not so fast. The entire world economy would crash. Truth is, I really don't know the answer, but if you're interested in seeing how this will affect the stock market over this next month, I was actually able to convince my friends at Bovada to let us bet on it, so may as well go check that out at the link in my bio.
Waking up to the realization that I am not living the American dream. Working since I was 18 till, well, next month I'll be 62. And I'm not going to be able to retire anytime soon, especially if I want to go visit my daughter in Europe a couple of times a year. That's a crap ton of money. I don't see retirement in my future. Is anybody else realizing that the American dream isn't their reality? Just curious, how many others are realizing that they're never going to retire?
Realize America's going bankrupt, and if they don't stop America going bankrupt, we all have a massive problem. So America today has explicit debt of $36 trillion. That's a very, very big number. There has never been a country that has had $36 trillion of debt. Now that is somewhere in the region of 120 to 125% of debt to GDP. Now, in the mid-90s, it was Stanford and Harvard professors Reinhardt and Rogoff put together this study called This Time is Different. It's a massive book. It's about 800 pages. They studied a lot of sovereign debt crises through the ages, and they worked out that 90% debt to GDP was about the maximum that could be sustained by an economy before it ultimately ended up in a financial crisis.
The difference between the rich and the poor is that the rich people understand the use of credit, while the poor people believe in a cash and carry system. Anything I don't have money for, I don't go for it. You get to the point now, listen, in America, your credit is your queen, while your cash is your king. And there is no king without a queen. They go together like this. They are like husband and wife in love. You get to the point now, you cannot move forward in America without a credit. Not just a credit, but a good credit. Some people have messed up their credit in the process of listening to random people. This is how you build your credit. This is not how you build your credit. And now your credit is shaking like my grandma's breast. You get to the point now, your credit is shaking like this. Don't play. Don't play. This is America. For you to move forward, you need credit. And if you don't have a credit, just accept your fate, because what you'll be doing is from hand to mouth. You will never be rich. You get to the point now, the difference between the rich people and the poor people. The rich people understand the use of credit, while the poor people believe in a cash and carry like you. Don't play. Peace and love.
Know about the average credit card dues of the common American? They're the highest in the world. Spend on your credit card, live in the present, don't worry about the future. But it's a very unfortunate trend these days, living in the now, living in the present. No wonder it is coming from the center of consumerism and is only serving to promote a lot of consumerism. No wonder the country this cult is coming from is the most debt-ridden country in the world. No wonder the society this cult is coming from carries the highest per capita debt on its head. Consume right now, don't worry about the consequences. Living in the now is something very, very special, applicable only to those already liberated. Only the ones already liberated have the right to live in the now. The others must be very conscious of the future.
I believe no politician when they start talking about finances, because there's no getting out of this, son. This is vociferous work. You see how many, this is not billions, this is trillions of dollars that we are in debt. Not we, the U.S., the government. And it just keeps going. And you tell me that Trump or Harris is going to fix this? They're not. $23 trillion. I mean, what does our credit score look like? Y'all be so worried about my shit. What is this? Somebody explain this to me. And I need the dumbest terms possible, because for you to get in $23 trillion of debt and then say, oh, I'm going to fix the economy, there's no fixing that. This is what makes me know that money's just created. It's just electronically from one to the other. No wonder y'all don't want cash no more, because how do you even get $23 trillion of cash? It's not possible. That's how. The next time you look at your bank account, you get worried or something, just take a look at this and just know it's going to be okay. That money's not real, bro. You're going to be all right. Don't worry about your credit score. Let that motherfucker go down. Imagine what our shit is. And this is the U.S. government. 23 trillion. That's with a T, not a B. And you worry about me. Got me fucked up.